From here, it looks like a brilliant, intricate, and also gigantic carpet. But what makes this florid work of art even more amazing is that it wasn't created with paint or woven with fabric. It's filled and colored by flowers, almost 1 million of them. It's the 23rd time the flower carpet has been installed in the historic square of the Belgian capital of Brussels. A landscape architect established the tradition in 1971, and this time around, a street artist was called on to create the carpet. Organizers said they wanted to blend something very modern with something very traditional. The work is made up mostly of dahlias, and it took more than 100 volunteers about 6 hours to put everything in place. The flowers covered the square in Brussels for a few days late last week, and now Belgians can look forward to the next time their square becomes a kaleidoscopic carpet of color. A very warm welcome to the best audience in news. My name is Carl Azuz. This is The World from A to Z, your nonpartisan source for international news and features. It's great to have you watching this Monday as a major U.S. political event gets underway in Chicago, Illinois. Before we get to that, though, a fun new segment for you. Is it constitutional? Is it constitutional? Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution reads, "The executive power shall be vested in a President of the United States of America." True or false? This is false. The Constitution discusses the legislative power of Congress in Article 1. The President's executive power is outlined in Article 2. The stage is set for this year's Democratic National Convention. It's where delegates from around the country are meeting this week. Their job to officially nominate their party's candidate for president, whose name will appear on the ballot this election day, November 5th. U.S. President Joe Biden is set to speak at the convention Monday night, but he won't be on the ballot, though he won the support of delegates in the primaries and caucuses earlier this year. On July 21st, the incumbent leader announced he would, quote, stand down in the election. President Biden had been under increasing pressure to bow out after a debate earlier this summer against former President Donald Trump. Republicans and Democrats widely criticized President Biden's performance, saying he didn't sound like himself or seem focused. President Biden initially wanted to stay in the race, but after he reluctantly withdrew on July 21st, he endorsed U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris to be the Democratic nominee. She secured the support of enough party delegates in the days that followed and chose Governor Tim Walz, the leader of Minnesota, as her running mate. The Republican National Convention was held a little over a month ago in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Former President Donald Trump secured his place in the race, along with running mate J.D. Vance, a U.S. Senator from Ohio. The convention that made their nomination official kicked off just days after an attempt to assassinate former President Trump. He was speaking at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania when a gunman from a nearby rooftop fired and hit his right ear. He wasn't badly hurt, but one audience member was killed and 2 others were seriously wounded in the shooting. The gunman was also killed by U.S. Secret Service agents, and an investigation into all of this continues. Meantime, Vice President Harris and former President Trump are scheduled for a face-to-face debate on September 10th.
Word of knowledge. American engineer Ray Harun made a famous achievement in what field? Race car driving, robotics, cinematography, horseback racing. In 1911, Ray Harun made history when he became the first winning driver of the Indianapolis 500.
On this date in world history, Old Ironsides. It's not just something Grandpa calls his stomach after a heavy meal. It's also the nickname of the USS Constitution, a warship that prevailed in battle on August 19th during the War of 1812. The Constitution defeated Britain's HMS Guerriere, with the American vessel getting the nickname Old Ironsides because she held up so well to British weaponry. Start your engines! This was the date in 1909 when the Indianapolis Motor Speedway held its first race. There were problems with the track and problems with safety, but But the track would go on to host the world-famous Indianapolis 500, with Ray Haroun winning the first one of those in 1911. And on this date in 1991, there was an attempted coup during the closing days of the Soviet Union. Hardline communist officials tried to take over their government and prevent the democratic reforms of Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev. But the coup failed and actually helped speed up the dissolution of the Soviet Union.
Take a look at an ornate marble floor found at the bottom of an Italian sea and that experts are calling a relic of the Las Vegas of the Roman Empire. The elaborate floor, dated as early as the 3rd century, was discovered by divers in the Gulf of Naples in what was once the ancient city of Baia, which, according to researchers, was a once party destination for aristocrats and rulers. The ancient floor has been undergoing a meticulous above and underwater restoration and is believed to have once been part of a seaside villa that likely succumbed to volcanic activity and geological changes before falling into the sea.
The U.S. government says this summer broke records for the number of people flying in America. Even before the 4th of July holiday, which itself was expected to set a new record, the Transportation Security Administration said it screened almost 3 million travelers on June 23rd alone. There were some problems like the CrowdStrike outage, a faulty update to computer software used by companies across the globe. It caused worldwide computer crashes on July 19th, and several airlines were affected, leading to grounded, canceled, and delayed flights that impacted thousands of people and lasted for days. But even when things go smoothly, as scores of flights have, there's still room for improvement when it comes to boarding a plane.
I'm about to board a flight, and honestly, plane boarding can be really stressful and chaotic.
It's a lot of sitting and waiting, then standing and waiting, followed by more sitting and waiting. There's gotta be a more efficient way to do things. And there is, but airlines disagree on which method is best. Most airlines board from the front to the back. The passengers in the front paid more for their flights, so they get priority. But the plane can't go anywhere until everyone has boarded, so is that really the best way? Delta will continue boarding the same way many airlines do, giving priority to those in first class and business class, and then to those who have credit cards with the airline. United Airlines claims it saves 2 minutes by boarding window seat passengers first, then middle seats, and aisle seats last. But the most efficient method, according to computer modeling, is one that not a single airline uses. It's known as the Stefan method, named for the astrophysicist that came up with it. And it's a bit complicated. Boarding takes place from window to aisle seat every other row, because often the biggest holdups come from waiting for the people on the rows right next to yours. Staggering the rows helps with the backlog in the aisle, and passengers throughout the plane can all board at the same time. But the practicality of implementing the Stefan method has kept airlines from adopting it. Maybe someday flying won't involve standing in so many lines. But for now, we wait.
When lightning strikes, it lights up our daily recognition of who's watching. Talking about the lightning of Lufkin Road Middle School, Mr. Shaw's class is here from Apex, North Carolina. Great to see you. Kearney, Nebraska is next. That's where the Bearcats are watching from Mr. Burkhart's class. It's at West Kearney High School. And we've got the Grizzlies with us from Spencer County Middle School. Miss Bradbury's class is in Taylorsville, Kentucky. In this case, it was a good thing that those claw prize machines usually grab nothing. Take a close look here and see if you can spot the fur-covered option that might claw back. A real-life groundhog was having a play date with some fake friends when he was spotted. This happened at a family fun park in Pennsylvania, the same place where another groundhog helps predict the weather in winter. Anyway, a game warden was called to remove the trespasser, presumably without using the claw, and people named it Colonel Custard. Maybe that was Custard's last stand. It was squirreled away in there and could have been hilarious if a kid had actually clawed him out. His sister might have said he was groundhogging the coolest toy they ever won, but it's a stuffy that would totally dig your home and yard and tell you every year whether there was 6 more weeks of winter. I mean, what parent would chuck it? I'm Carl Azuz. That's the world from A to Z. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. You mean the world to me.